Hey there. So, you're thinking about studying abroad in 2026. That's awesome. But let's be real for a second. Choosing the right university, it can feel like a total maze. That's why we're here. In this explainer, we're going to lay out a super clear strategy to help you find that perfect spot for you.
First things first, what do we even mean by the right university? Is it just about a fancy name or a top 10 ranking? Not even close. It's way more personal than that. And it has to be, because we're talking about a huge life commitment here.
And when I say huge, I mean it. You're looking at 3, 4, maybe even 6 years of your life. That's a massive investment, not just of money, but of your time, your emotions. It's a whole cultural leap. The goal here isn't just to get through it. It's to find a place where you'll absolutely thrive. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what right actually means. Then, we'll dive into the 4 pillars that will guide your choice. After that, I'll show you a handy decision matrix, we'll cover the triple threat strategy for applying, and we'll wrap up with how you can make a truly empowered choice. Sound good? Let's go.
Okay, first section. What does right really mean? Let's figure out how to find your perfect fit.
So, the right university isn't some universal thing. It's totally personal. Think of it like a Venn diagram where everything overlaps. It's that sweet spot right in the middle where your career goals, your budget, how you like to learn, and your big picture dreams all come together. You know, whether you plan to come back home or take on the world.
Okay, so how do we find that sweet spot? Well, you need a framework. And that's exactly what this is, the 4 pillars. It's a simple, powerful way to structure your thinking. Think of these 4 things as the literal pillars holding up your entire study abroad experience: legitimacy, academic fit, financials, and the campus environment. If all 4 are strong, you're not just picking a school, you're building a launch pad for your future. So let's break each one down.
All right, pillar number 1. And listen, this one is a total non-negotiable: legitimacy and global recognition. Before you get all excited about the pretty campus photos or the cool course list, you have to do your homework and check its credentials.
So how do you actually do that? Well, the bare minimum is national accreditation. But if you're going for a professional degree, you've got to dig deeper. Studying medicine, you better check if the World Health Organization recognizes that degree. Doing engineering, is the university part of the Washington Accord? These aren't just tiny details, folks. This is the stuff that saves you from the absolute nightmare of getting a degree that's worthless back home or wherever you want to work. At the end of the day, it all boils down to this one question. Can you use this degree to work or study in another country? You need a confident, resounding yes to that. All right, so you've confirmed the university is legit. Awesome. Now we move on to pillar 2, academic fit. This is where we stop obsessing over those big, generic university rankings and start zooming in on what actually matters for your specific degree. Look, a university might be ranked, 50th in the world, but it could be number 1 for what you care about. For example, if you're into AI, the University of Toronto is an absolute powerhouse. MIT, it's the king of the tech startup scene. And if you're studying law and development in an African context, the University of Cape Town is where you want to be. It's all about matching what you want to do with what they do best.
So the question you got to ask yourself is this: does this university offer the absolute best version of my degree? Okay, let's get real and talk about the elephant in the room: money. Pillar 3 is all about financial sustainability. Because look, it's one thing to get accepted, it's a whole other thing to actually be able to afford to stay there and finish your degree without being stressed out of your mind about cash.
And the reality check is, wow. Annual tuition can swing from $5,000 all the way up to $50,000 or more. And that's just tuition. That doesn't even count rent, food, insurance, flights, all of it. So having a rock-solid financial plan isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely essential. But hey, don't panic. The good news is there are tons of options. There are huge international scholarships out there. Think Commonwealth, Chevening, and Fulbright that can cover a massive chunk of the cost. And you should also think outside the box. Look at countries that offer amazing, high-quality education that's also way more affordable. Places like Germany, Norway, South Africa, or Malaysia. The key is to think long-term. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself and ask, can I afford this for the whole ride, not just for year 1? And that brings us to our final pillar, number 4, campus environment and logistics. This is all the stuff that happens outside the classroom. We're talking about your actual day-to-day life, from the weather to what happens after you graduate. And this is where you get into the nitty-gritty. Can you handle the climate? Does the culture feel right? How tough are the visa rules? And, super important, can you work there after you study? Plus, in this day and age, you have to think about the tech. Do they have good digital platforms and hybrid learning options? You need that stuff.
When you strip it all away, this pillar is about asking yourself a simple gut check question. Will I feel safe here? Will I feel supported? Will I actually be inspired? And the answer to that has to be a firm yes.
Okay, so we've got our 4 pillars. Now what? Let's make this practical. It's time to put it all together with a super useful tool, your decision matrix.
This is basically a scorecard for your university options. So, for example, under finances, a place gets a high rightness score if you've got funding locked down for 2 years or more. It gets a low score if you're just kind of hoping for a sponsorship. Same for migration. A clear path to work after you study, high score. No path at all, low score. It's a way to take the emotion out of it and just compare your choices side by side.
All right, you've got your analysis tool. Now it's time to move from thinking to doing. Let's talk about an actual application plan. We'll call it the triple threat strategy. It's super simple, but it works. Here's the magic formula. 1. Apply to at least 3 different universities. Think of them as your dream school, a solid choice, and a safe bet. 2. Apply to at least 3 different scholarships, local, international, one from the university itself. And 3. Build an absolutely killer portfolio, transcripts, essays, the whole deal. See, it's all about not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're creating multiple ways to win.
Okay, let's bring it all home. At the end of the day, making an empowered choice means looking past the flashy brand names and the prestige.
It really boils down to this simple idea. This whole thing, all the research, the stressful applications, the tough money talks, it's all for one reason: to find a place where you won't just survive, but where you will absolutely, positively thrive.
So remember, the right choice is always a balance of 3 things: a great personal fit, long-term sustainability, and genuine opportunity for your future. So I want to leave you with this final thought. You're not just picking a school, you're choosing your launchpad. The real question is, how are you going to use that launchpad to grow? Academically, professionally, personally, across borders and beyond anything you've imagined. Your journey starts right now.